Jake Morrison felt his stomach drop as his small ship fell through the purple sky. Smoke filled the cockpit and red lights flashed everywhere. He had been on a simple mission to check out this new planet called Zirion. Now he was going to crash, land on it. The ship hit the ground hard. Jake's head hit the wall and everything went black for a while. When he woke up, his ship was broken and would never fly again. He was stuck on this strange world with no way home. Jake climbed out of the wreck and looked around. The planet was beautiful but scary. Purple trees grew everywhere and the sky had two suns. Strange sounds came from the forest around him. He had never seen anything like this place before. He checked his gear. His rifle still worked and he had some food and water. Maybe he could survive long enough for a rescue ship to find him. Jake started walking away from his crashed ship to find shelter. After walking for an hour, Jake saw something that made him stop. A huge city made of white stone rose up in front of him. Tall towers reached toward the sky, and strange lights glowed everywhere. This was not a human city. Jake knew he should stay away, but he needed help. Maybe the aliens who lived here were friendly. Maybe they would help him get home. He walked toward the city gates. Big guards stood at the entrance. They were not human. They stood 9 feet tall with blue skin that looked like crystal. Their eyes glowed white, and they carried weapons Jake had never seen before. When they saw him coming, they pointed their weapons at him. "Stop right there, alien," one guard said. Jake was surprised the guard could speak his language. "You are not allowed in our sacred city. Who are you and why are you here?" Jake put his hands up to show he was not dangerous. "My name is Jake Morrison. I am from Earth. My ship crashed and I need help." The guards looked at each other. They seemed to be talking without words. Jake remembered reading that some alien species could speak with their minds. "You will come with us," the first guard said. "The Empress will decide what to do with you." They walked through the city streets. Jake saw many more of the blue aliens. They all stared at him like he was some kind of monster. The buildings around them were amazing. Everything was made of white stone that seemed to glow with its own light. Soon they reached a huge palace in the center of the city. The guards led Jake through long halls with beautiful art on the walls. Everything here showed how advanced these aliens were. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had. Finally, they entered a massive throne room. A beautiful alien woman sat on a crystal throne at the far end. She had long silver hair and bright purple eyes. Her skin was the same blue crystal as the guards, but it seemed to shine more. She wore a golden crown and robes made of silk that changed colors in the light. 2 other alien women stood next to the throne. One looked older and serious. The other was younger and seemed curious about Jake. All 3 were the most beautiful beings Jake had ever seen. "I am Empress Lydia Velthara," the woman on the throne said. Her voice was like music. "You are in the sacred city of the Velthara Empire. No outsider is allowed here without permission. The punishment for breaking this law is death." Jake's heart started beating faster. He had not known about any law. "Please, Your Majesty, I did not mean to break your laws. My ship crashed, and I just needed help." The Empress looked at him with her glowing eyes. Jake felt like she could see into his mind. "You claim ignorance, but ignorance does not excuse the crime. However, our laws are fair. You may choose your fate." "What are my choices?" Jake asked. "Death, by execution or trial by combat against our greatest champion. If you somehow win, you will be free to go. If you lose, you die with honor." Jake knew he had no real choice. Fighting might give him a small chance to live. "I choose combat." The woman standing to the right of the throne stepped forward. She had short black hair and looked very smart. "I am Maya Silthara, advisor to the Empress. You should know that our champion has never been defeated. He has killed over 300 warriors in combat." The younger woman on the left looked excited. "I am Princess Kate Velthara, sister to the Empress. No one has lasted more than 5 minutes against Kronos the Undefeated." Jake felt his mouth go dry. 300 victories and no defeats. This champion sounded impossible to beat. But what choice did he have? "I understand," Jake said. "When do we fight?" Empress Lydia smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Tomorrow, at noon in the Grand Arena, all of our people will come to watch you die. Tonight you will stay in our cells and prepare for your final battle. The guards grabbed Jake's arms and led him away. As they walked out of the throne room, he heard the three women talking in their musical language. He did not understand the words, but he could guess what they were saying. They were planning his funeral. In his cell that night, Jake tried to think of a way to win. He had never fought anything like this champion before. All he had was his human training and his will to live. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe humans were tougher than these aliens thought. He fell asleep dreaming of home and wondering if he would ever see Earth again. The morning sun woke Jake up in his cold cell. Today he would either win his freedom or die trying. Guards brought him water and some strange alien food that tasted like metal. He ate it anyway because he needed strength for the fight ahead. "Time to go, human," one guard said. "Your death awaits you in the arena." They walked through long stone passages under the city. Jake could hear a loud roar coming from above. It sounded like thousands of voices all talking at once. The whole city had come to watch him fight their champion. The passage opened into bright sunlight. Jake stepped into the biggest arena he had ever seen. It was 10 times larger than any stadium on Earth. Seats rose up on all sides, filled with blue alien faces. They were all staring down at him and making excited noises. The arena floor was covered with white sand. Weapons hung on racks around the edges. Swords, spears, axes, and strange alien weapons that glowed with energy. Jake had no idea how most of them worked. High above the arena, Empress Lydia sat on a golden throne. Maya and Kate sat on smaller thrones beside her. All three women looked down at Jake with interest. The Empress raised her hand and the crowd became quiet. "People of Vilthara," the Empress called out. Her voice carried across the whole arena without any effort. "Today we witness the trial of the human trespasser. He will face our greatest champion in combat to the death." The crowd cheered and stamped their feet. The sound was so loud it hurt Jake's ears. A huge gate on the other side of the arena began to open. The crowd's cheering got even louder. Jake watched as something massive walked out into the sunlight. Kronos the Undefeated was a monster. He stood 12 feet tall and had 4 thick arms covered in what looked like natural armor. His skin was dark gray like stone and his eyes burned red. Each of his hands held a different weapon that crackled with deadly energy. The champion looked at Jake and laughed. The sound was deep and scary. "So this is the mighty human warrior," Kronos said in a voice like thunder. "You are even smaller than I expected. I will make your death quick, little creature." Jake walked to the weapon racks and picked up a simple metal sword. It felt good in his hands. He had trained with swords since he was young. At least this was a weapon he understood. "Are you ready to die, human?" Kronos called out. "I'm ready to fight," Jake replied. The Empress stood up. "Let the trial begin!" Kronos charged forward like a mad bull. His 4 weapons swung at Jake from different directions at the same time. Jake rolled to the side just as an energy blast burned the sand where he had been standing. The crowd cheered as Kronos pressed his attack. His weapons moved so fast they were hard to see. Jake had to use all his speed just to stay alive. He dodged and rolled and jumped, but he could not get close enough to attack. One energy beam burned his shoulder. Another cut his leg. Jake was bleeding and getting tired. Kronos was too strong and too fast. The alien champion had not even broken a sweat. "Is this all humans can do?" Kronos laughed. "Run and hide like scared animals. Face me and die with honor." Jake stopped running and stood still. He watched Kronos carefully as the champion came closer. There had to be a weakness. Everyone had a weakness. Then Jake saw it. Kronos was so used to winning easily that he had gotten careless. His attacks were powerful, but not very smart. He swung all 4 weapons at once, which left him open for just a moment after each attack. Jake waited for the next attack. 4 deadly weapons came at him from all sides. At the last second, he dropped to the ground and rolled between Kronos' legs. The champion's own weapons crashed into each other above Jake's head. While Kronos was confused, Jake swung his sword. At the champion's ankle, his blade cut deep into the gray flesh. Black blood poured out and Kronos roared in pain and anger. "You dare cut me, little human?" Kronos spun around and swung 2 weapons at Jake's head. Jake ducked and stabbed upward with his sword. The blade went deep into Kronos' side. More black blood flowed out. The champion was hurt, but still very dangerous. The crowd had become quiet. They had never seen their champion bleed before. In the royal box, Empress Lydia leaned forward with wide eyes. Kronos was getting angry and sloppy. He swung his weapons wildly, trying to smash Jake into pieces, but anger made him stupid. Jake stayed calm and looked for his chance. It came when Kronos raised all 4 weapons above his head for a killing blow. Jake saw a piece of broken stone near his feet. He grabbed it and threw it hard at Kronos' face. The stone hit the champion in his left eye. Kronos screamed and stumbled backward. His upper hands went to his injured face, while his lower hands still held weapons. Jake ran forward and grabbed one of the energy weapons from Kronos' lower hand. The weapon was heavy, but he managed to lift it. Without thinking, he pointed it at the champion and pulled what looked like a trigger. A beam of pure energy shot out and hit Kronos in the chest. The champion looked down in shock at the smoking hole in his body. "Impossible," Kronos whispered. Jake did not stop. He fired again and again. Each energy blast tore through the champion's body. Kronos tried to fight back, but he was dying fast. With his last breath, Kronos swung a massive axe at Jake's head. Jake ducked and thrust upward with the energy weapon like a spear. The weapon went completely through Kronos' body and came out his back. For a moment, the champion stood there with the weapon sticking through him. Then his body fell apart in 2 pieces. The great Kronos, the undefeated, was dead. The arena was completely silent. 50,000 aliens stared down at the human who had done the impossible. Jake stood over the champion's body, breathing hard and bleeding from his wounds. Then someone in the crowd screamed. Others began to wail and cry. Their greatest champion was dead, killed by a small human they had expected to die in minutes. In the royal box, Empress Lydia stood up slowly. Her face was white with shock. Maya covered her mouth with her hands. Kate looked excited and scared at the same time. Jake looked up at the 3 women and saw something in their eyes he did not understand. It looked almost like fear, but not the kind of fear he expected. It was something else. "The trial is over," Empress Lydia called out in a shaky voice. "The human has won." Jake stood in the middle of the arena, still breathing hard from the fight. The crowd around him was making strange noises, like they were scared and confused. He did not understand why they looked so upset. He had won the fight fairly. Guards came running onto the arena floor. But instead of helping him, they all kneeled down around him. Even the guards who had been so mean to him yesterday were now bowing their heads. "What's happening?" Jake asked, but no one answered him. More aliens came into the arena. These ones wore fancy robes and looked very important. They also kneeled down when they saw Jake. Soon the whole arena floor was covered with bowing aliens. Jake looked up at the royal box where Empress Lydia sat. She was talking very fast to Maya and Kate. All 3 women looked scared and worried. Finally, the Empress stood up and walked down to the arena floor. When she reached Jake, she did something that shocked him. The proud Empress got down on her knees in front of him. "Great warrior," she said in a quiet voice. "You have proven yourself in combat. According to our ancient laws, you are now our master." Jake stepped back in surprise. "What are you talking about? I just wanted to go home." An old alien woman in white robes came forward. Her skin was paler than the others, and her eyes were very wise. "I am Elena Morthara, High Priestess of our people. I must explain the law of conquest to you." "What law?" Jake asked. Elena's voice was serious and sad. "Long ago, when our people were young and wild, we made a sacred law. Anyone who defeats our greatest champion in single combat has proven they are stronger than all of us. Such a person becomes the ruler of our strongest women." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Ruler? What does that mean exactly?" "It means," Elena said slowly, "that Empress Lydia, her advisor Maya, and Princess Kate now belong to you. They are your concubines by law. They must serve you in all things until you choose to free them or until someone defeats you in combat." Jake stared at the 3 women who were still kneeling near him. "That's crazy. I don't want to own anyone. I just want to go home to Earth." The crowd around them began to make worried sounds. Elena looked very concerned. You cannot refuse this law, human. If you do, our people will see it as a great insult. There will be war between your kind and ours. And if I refuse, Empress Lydia said quietly, Maya, Kate, and I will be executed for failing in our sacred duty. The law is very clear about this. Jake ran his hands through his hair. This was not what he wanted at all. He looked at the three beautiful women kneeling before him. They had been so proud and strong yesterday. Now they looked scared and helpless. This is insane, Jake said. There has to be another way. Maya spoke up for the first time. There is no other way, human. The law is thousands of years old. It has never been broken. Kate looked up at Jake with her bright eyes. Please do not. Let them kill us. We will serve you well. Jake felt sick to his stomach. These women were asking him to make them his slaves just so they could live. It went against everything he believed in. How long does this law last? Jake asked Elena. Until you choose to free them, or until another warrior defeats you in combat, Elena replied. Jake thought about this. Maybe he could play along for now and find a way to fix things later. What if I treat them as equals instead of slaves? Elena looked shocked. That would be very unusual, but the law only says they must serve you. It does not say how you must treat them. Jake made his decision. He could not let these women die because of some old law. Fine. I accept this arrangement, but only temporarily. We need to work together to find a better solution. The crowd began to cheer. They seemed relieved that there would be no war. Elena smiled for the first time since Jake had met her. The law is satisfied, Elena announced. Jake Morrison of Earth is now the master of our three highest ladies. Jake helped Empress Lydia stand up. She looked surprised by his gentle touch. You don't have to kneel to me, he told her. I meant what I said about treating you as equals. Lydia studied his face carefully. You are very different from what we expected, Jake Morrison. Most warriors who win such power would use it badly. Maya and Kate also stood up. Maya still looked angry about the whole situation, but Kate seemed curious about what would happen next. Where will we live? Kate asked. You will live in the royal palace, Elena said. It is now Jake's palace by right of conquest. As they walked back toward the palace, crowds of aliens lined the streets to stare at them. Jake felt very uncomfortable with all the attention. He had never wanted to be a ruler. Inside the palace, servants ran around preparing rooms and food for their new master. Jake noticed that all the servants seemed afraid of him. Word had spread quickly about how he had killed their champion. That evening, Jake sat in what used to be the Empress's private dining room. Lydia, Maya, and Kate sat at the same table with him. The servants had prepared a huge feast, but no one was eating much. So, Jake said, trying to break the awkward silence, tell me more about this law. Has anyone ever challenged it before? Lydia shook her head. Never. No outsider has ever even reached our city, much less defeated Kronos. You are the first. What about your own people? Has no one ever questioned this old law? Maya spoke up, still sounding angry. Some have questioned it in private, but none dare speak against the sacred laws in public. It would mean death. Jake leaned back in his chair. So we're all stuck with this situation. Unless someone defeats you in combat, Kate said hopefully. Are there more humans coming to rescue you? Jake thought about his rescue beacon. Earth would send ships to look for him eventually, but it might take months or even years. Maybe someday, he said. But for now, we need to make the best of this situation. I want you three to know that I will never force you to do anything you don't want to do. Lydia looked at him with her beautiful purple eyes. You continue to surprise us, Jake Morrison. Most conquerors would have already claimed their prizes. I'm not a conqueror, Jake replied. I'm just a guy who got lost and had to fight to survive. But even as he said this, Jake could see that his life had changed forever. He was now responsible for 3 alien women and an entire empire. The weight of that responsibility was scary. Outside the palace windows, the 2 suns of Zirion were setting. Jake wondered what tomorrow would bring in this strange new world where he was both a prisoner and a king. 3 weeks had passed since Jake's victory in the arena. Life in the palace had settled into a strange routine. Every morning, Jake woke up in the huge royal bedroom that used to belong to Empress Lydia. She now slept in a smaller room down, the hall along with Maya and Kate. Jake hated the whole arrangement, but he was trying to make the best of it. He spent his days learning about Valthera culture and trying to understand how their government worked. It was much more complicated than anything on Earth. This morning, Jake was sitting in the palace garden with Kate. She was teaching him to read the Valthera written language. Her voice was patient as she pointed to the strange symbols on the tablet. "This symbol means strength," Kate explained, "and this one means honor. Together they make the word for warrior." Jake tried to copy the symbols with his finger. "Your language is beautiful but very hard to learn." Kate smiled. "You are doing much better than most people do. Maya says you have a good mind for learning." Speaking of Maya, she appeared at the garden entrance carrying a stack of reports. Over the past few weeks, she had become Jake's main advisor on running the empire. Despite her anger at the situation, she was very good at her job. "Jake," Maya called out, "we have problems to discuss." Jake stood up and walked over to her. "What kind of problems?" Maya's face was serious. "Some of our military leaders are not happy with having a human ruler. General Alex Dorthera is especially upset." "What does he want?" "He wants to challenge the ancient law," Maya replied. "He says no alien should rule over the Valthara people." Jake sighed. He had been expecting something like this. "Can he do that legally?" "Not directly. The law is sacred and cannot be changed easily. But he could cause trouble in other ways." Just then, Empress Lydia joined them in the garden. She looked worried. "I have been listening to the thoughts of people in the city. Many are confused and scared about having a human ruler." Jake had learned that Lydia could read minds, which made him very uncomfortable sometimes. "What are they thinking about me?" "Some fear you because you killed Kronos so easily. Others respect your strength, but do not trust aliens. A few are curious about human ways." Maya nodded. "The general is using these fears to gain support for his cause. He is telling people that humans are dangerous and will destroy our culture." Jake sat down on a stone bench. "Maybe he's right. Maybe I should find a way to leave and let things go back to normal." "No," Kate said quickly, then looked embarrassed by her outburst. "I mean, things were not always good before you came." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Lydia sat down beside him. "Kate is right. Our old ways were not perfect. The strong ruled over the weak without mercy. Women had power, but men were treated badly. There was much cruelty in our society." Maya nodded reluctantly. "Under the old system, I was only valuable because I was smart. If I had been born weak or stupid, I would have been a slave." Jake looked at the three women. "So you're saying my being here might actually be a good thing?" "You are different from our leaders," Lydia said softly. "You ask for our opinions instead of just giving orders. You treat servants with kindness. You try to understand our problems before making decisions." Kate leaned forward eagerly. "And you told the kitchen staff they could eat the same food as us. No ruler has ever done that before." Jake smiled slightly. "Where I come from, all people deserve to be treated fairly." "That is why General Alex fears you," Maya said. "If the common people start expecting fair treatment, it will threaten the power of the nobles." Before Jake could respond, a palace guard ran into the garden. He was out of breath and looked scared. "Master Jake," the guard gasped. "General Alex and his soldiers are marching toward the palace. They carry weapons and look ready for battle." Jake stood up quickly. "How many soldiers?" "Maybe 200, Master. They will be here soon." Maya grabbed Jake's arm. "If Alex cannot challenge you directly, he might try to kill you in other ways. Assassination or a surprise attack." Lydia closed her eyes and concentrated. "I can sense his thoughts from here. He plans to claim that you broke some law, which would make our arrangement invalid." "What law could I have broken?" Jake asked. "It does not matter," Maya replied. "If he has enough supporters, he can make up any excuse." Kate looked scared. "If Alex wins, what will happen to us?" "We will be executed as traitors," Lydia said calmly. "That is the law." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. These women had done nothing wrong except follow their own laws. Now they might die because some general wanted power. "Not if I can help it," Jake said firmly. "Guard, bring me my weapons." and send word to any palace guards who are loyal to us." "Jake," Lydia said carefully, "you do not have to fight for us. This is not your battle." Jake looked at her with determination. "Yes, it is. You three are under my protection now, whether I wanted this job or not. I won't let anyone hurt you." Maya looked surprised. "You would risk your life for us?" "Of course. That's what decent people do." As they prepared for the coming battle, Jake realized something had changed. These three women were no longer just his responsibility. They had become his friends, and he would fight to protect his friends. The sound of marching feet could be heard in the distance. General Alex and his rebels were almost at the palace gates. Jake checked his rifle and made sure it was loaded. "Stay close to me," he told the three women. "We're going to get through this together." For the first time since he had crashed on this planet, Jake felt like he knew exactly what he needed to do. The sound of boots on stone echoed through the palace halls as General Alex and his soldiers marched through the front gates. Jake stood in the main throne room with Lydia, Maya, and Kate behind him. Only 30 palace guards had stayed loyal to them. The rest had either joined the rebels or run away. "This is not good odds," Maya whispered. Jake checked his rifle one more time. "We don't need good odds. We just need to be smart." The throne room doors burst open. General Alex strode, in wearing full battle armor. He was tall and muscular, with scars covering his blue crystal skin. Behind him came 200 soldiers, all armed with energy weapons. "Human trespasser!" Alex shouted. "You have broken our sacred laws and dishonored our empire. I am here to remove you from power." Jake stepped forward calmly. "What law have I broken, General?" Alex smiled coldly. "You have failed to properly claim your concubines. The law of conquest requires the victor to demonstrate his dominance within 30 days. You have treated these women as equals instead of as your property." Jake felt his anger rising, but he kept his voice steady. "The law says they must serve me. It doesn't say how I have to treat them." "Wrong." Alex pointed his weapon at Jake. "High Priestess Elena was mistaken. I have studied the ancient texts more carefully. A true conqueror must show his strength by making his concubines submit completely. Since you have failed to do this, the law is invalid." Lydia stepped forward. "Alex, you lie. There is no such requirement in the ancient law." "Silence, former Empress," Alex snarled. "When I kill this weak human, you and your companions will be executed as traitors." Jake realized that Alex was making up laws to justify his rebellion. The general didn't care about ancient traditions. He just wanted power. "You want to challenge me?" Jake asked. "Fine. Let's settle this the same way I settled things with Kronos." Alex laughed. "I am not stupid enough to face you in single combat, human. I have seen what you can do. Instead, my soldiers will kill you and then we will claim you were a criminal who died resisting arrest." The rebel soldiers raised their weapons. Jake's loyal guards did the same. In a few seconds, the throne room would become a battlefield. But Jake had a different idea. "Wait!" Jake shouted. "Before you kill me, I want to ask you something, General. What will you do after I'm dead?" Alex looked confused by the question. "I will restore proper order to our empire." "And what about the common people? The servants, the workers, the poor families in the city?" "They will serve as they always have," Alex replied. "The strong will rule and the weak will obey." Jake nodded. "That's what I thought you would say." He turned to address all the soldiers in the room, both loyal and rebel. "Did you all hear that? General Alex plans to bring back the old ways, the ways where most of you were treated like slaves." Some of the rebel soldiers looked uncomfortable. Jake continued speaking. "Under the old system, only nobles like the general had good lives. Everyone else suffered. But in the past 3 weeks, things have been different. Servants eat the same food as nobles. Guards get better pay and shorter hours. Common soldiers are treated with respect." "Lies!" Alex shouted. "Do not listen to the humans' tricks." But Jake could see that his words were having an effect. Some of the rebel soldiers were lowering their weapons and looking uncertain. Maya stepped forward. "The human speaks truth. In 3 weeks, he has done more good for our people than our leaders did in 300 years. Kate nodded eagerly. He listens to everyone's problems, not just the rich and powerful. Even Lydia spoke up. I have ruled this empire for 50 years, but I learned more about real leadership from Jake than from all my advisors combined. Alex's face was getting red with anger. Enough of this talk. Soldiers, kill them all. But something unexpected happened. Instead of obeying, many of the rebel soldiers stepped back. Some even lowered their weapons completely. General, one soldier said carefully, maybe we should think about this more. The human has been good to my family, another soldier added. My daughter was sick and he made sure she got medicine. Alex looked around in shock as more and more of his soldiers began to doubt him. You fools! He is an alien! He will destroy our culture! Jake saw his chance. I'm not here to destroy anything, General. I'm here to make things better for everyone. But you only care about keeping power for yourself. That's not true, Alex screamed. He was losing control of the situation, and he knew it. Then prove it, Jake challenged. Put down your weapon, and let's solve this peacefully. We can work together to make the Empire better for everyone. Alex's answer was to raise his energy rifle and fire at Jake. But Jake was ready for this. He dove to the side and rolled behind the throne. The energy blast hit the wall where he had been standing. So much for peaceful solutions, Jake muttered. He popped up from behind the throne and fired his rifle. The bullet hit Alex in the shoulder and spun him around. The general screamed in pain and rage. Kill them! Kill them all! But now most of his soldiers refused to obey. Only about 50 rebels were still loyal to Alex, while the others had joined Jake's side or simply left the room. The battle was short and one-sided. Jake's supporters outnumbered the remaining rebels 2-1. Alex and his die-hard followers fought bravely, but were quickly defeated. In the end, Alex lay wounded on the floor with Jake standing over him. The general's rebellion had failed completely. It's over, Alex, Jake said. Surrender now, and I'll spare your life. Alex glared up at him with hate in his eyes. I will never bow to an alien, Jake sighed. Then you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Later that evening, Jake sat in the garden with Lydia, Maya, and Kate. The rebellion was over and the palace was peaceful again. But Jake had been thinking about what Alex had said about the ancient law. I've made a decision, Jake announced. I'm going to change the law of conquest. The three women looked surprised. Can you do that? Kate asked. I'm the ruler now, right? That means I can make new laws. Jake looked at each of them carefully. I'm changing the law so that no one can be forced into this kind of arrangement ever again. Lydia smiled softly. That is very noble of you, Jake. But what about us? If you change the law, we will be free to leave. That's the point, Jake replied. I want you to be free to choose your own lives. Maya looked thoughtful. And what if we choose to stay? Jake was surprised by the question. You would want to stay? These past weeks have been strange, Lydia said slowly, but also interesting. I have learned much from you about true leadership. Kate nodded eagerly. And I want to keep learning about human culture. There is so much I don't know. Even Maya, who had been angry at first, seemed to have changed. Her mind. You have shown me that strength is not about forcing others to obey. Real strength comes from earning respect and trust. Jake felt a warm feeling in his chest. So, you're saying you want to stay here and help me run the empire? Not as your concubines, Lydia said firmly, but as your partners and advisors. And friends, Kate added with a bright smile. Jake grinned. I think I can live with that arrangement. Over the following months, Jake worked with his three companions to transform the Valthara Empire. They created new laws that protected the rights of common people. They improved living conditions for workers and servants. They established schools and hospitals in poor areas of the city. When Earth ships finally arrived to rescue Jake, they found him sitting on a crystal throne, ruling an alien empire alongside three beautiful alien women. The rescue captain was very confused by the situation. Captain Morrison, the rescue captain said, are you ready to come home to Earth? Jake looked at Lydia, Maya, and Kate, then back at the Earth captain. Actually, I think I am home, but I'd like to set up some diplomatic talks between Earth and the Valthara Empire. I think our two peoples have a lot to learn from each other. And so Jake Morrison, who had started as a lost astronaut, became the first human ambassador to an alien world. The three women who had once been forced to serve him became his closest friends and advisors in building a better future for both their peoples. Sometimes the best things in life came from the most unexpected circumstances.